why the majority of the alphas, especially in the modern day context, is pretty much fake. So when I say alpha, I mean this goes spread out across the board to anyone claiming to be alpha. You have to be very careful about how it is that you use that word. And the reason why is because an alpha, in all intensive purposes, is a person who is for the team, for their specific tribe, group, team. But at the same time, if the other members of their team that they're leading gets captured, hurt, or somehow ends up getting in a very unfavorable disposition, the alpha will do everything that they can, which is the leader of the team, will do everything that they can to get the team back if they are decent. So people who use that term alpha, you have to be very careful. What makes a person an alpha, well, there's a couple of things, but some of the things that makes a person an alpha is their willingness to actually stand up on their own 2 feet and having decency, or I should say having a particular goal that they are willing to make sacrifices that's necessary for them to actually reach their goal. That's what makes them an alpha. Part of what makes them an alpha, their focus, their drive, their unwavering determination, and their willingness to fight for the outcome, the greater outcome that they are willing to actually achieve with time and patience and learning and experience and conflict. And there's no way that there's so many alphas on the planet, let alone here on YouTube. And the reason why I can show and prove this is because when it comes to relationships, let me explain. If you find yourself in a situation where, if you're calling yourself an alpha and your would-be significant other, what I mean when I say would-be is a situation where the two of you are supposed to be together, but the person is acting up and they are essentially being an adversary, an enemy to you, you need to understand that what a real quote-unquote alpha, if you're going to call yourself that, would try their best to understand the situation and find out why it is that they're doing what it is that they're doing, or at the very least, try to communicate with this person that what this person is doing is detrimental to the overall plan of what that alpha's got cooking up. That a real alpha is not going to sit around and see a person who's supposed to be their partner, their love interest, their relationship interest, and watch these same relationship interests run around and do all types of unnecessary, distasteful things, disrespectful, distasteful things, and stay there and talk to them and try to argue them to the ground. No, we're going to sit here and we're going to go ahead and talk about things. That's not what an alpha would do. Why? Because remember, if you are an alpha, that means, or that implies, I should say, let me be more accurate. It quietly means that you have options, not just with money, not just with where you want to live as far as a residence, but it also means that you have options when it comes to dating and mating also. So if you were really alpha the way that you say you was, there would be no good point. There would be no meaning in you speaking to a would-be significant other and trying to argue them or convince them to stay. Because whenever it is that you see a so-called alpha trying to tell the other person who is choosing to be uncooperative, no, we're going to sit here and we're going to work this out and I'm not letting you go. That's not what an alpha is. Remember what it is I just said at the beginning of the video. An alpha is the type of person who, no matter what, the main goal is the overall picture. And an alpha would be willing to make sacrifices. And even if it comes to making sacrifices such as replacing or getting a new mate or a new relationship with a new love interest, if that so-called would-be relationship partner doesn't act right. So how can these people call themselves alphas so frivolously? The word alpha has been tossed all over the place by people, by definition, who are not in control of their emotional state, who have very little control of their emotional state. Part of being an alpha is also, and I hope YouTube doesn't hit me for this, but I just need to tell it like it is. Part of being a real alpha is understanding that pain comes with the position. You have to take into consideration that you need a very strong foundational sense of self and self-worth and self-respect, because if you do not have that, you will find yourself being in a certain situation where you will be corrupted due to the fact that you will be wrathful with all of the obstacles that you receive. Because you being the position of alpha, it means that people look up to you to be the leader. People look up to you for guidance. People look up to you as the patriarch. People look up to you as the father figure or the mother figure. Either way it goes. And the point is, people look up to you to serve their purpose as a symbol of excellence. But you can't be a symbol of excellence if you don't keep your dignity and if you don't keep your self-respect. I mean, so how many alphas do you see who are in essence begging their partner to stay, telling their partner, oh, well, you're not going to leave? No, that's not what a real alpha would do. Let that person leave. If you say that you're an alpha, then live it. Let that person walk off and you replace that person with a more willing participant, respective significant other, and the person that you perceive as being more worthy. Instead of that, what do you see? You see a lot of people out here, becoming very bitter. An alpha is way more than just telling people what to do. An alpha is the type of person, regardless of who you are, an alpha is the type of person that has to be a visionary, has to see things that other people are not willing to see, or who don't have the foresight. An alpha is a rebel in their own right. There's a saying that says there's a saying that says that all rebels are closeted aristocrats. What does that mean is that all rebels are people who want to control their own existence and take responsibility over their own existence and start up their own universe centered around them, as them being the heart, the center, or the epicenter of what happens around them. I see a lot of people talking about that alpha status that they did not earn. A lot of people talking about they are alphas when they do not fight to maintain their decency. A real leader that has taken the position of an alpha position is an individual who can turn down temptation. As I said before, an alpha is combative because it's the fighting spirit that they spent so much time of their years learning how to hone or focus through time, discipline, and hardships, traumas. Real alphas come from a lot of pain, a lot of rough and tough life lessons that they had to learn to adapt to. They had to learn to grow up at a very young age, because if they didn't, their world would be in shambles, because a lot of the things and the people around them fall apart. So in order for them to actually have a fighting chance to live the type of life that they want, they had to batten down the hatches, be more solid within themselves, and have to have a very powerful and focused and resilient resolve. No matter what happened, they are going to do whatever is necessary, not whatever, compromising themselves, but they will do whatever is necessary in order for them to actually make it through these tough times, even when it comes to sacrificing the time that they should have had as being a young one, to grow up at that very, very young age and have to be the grown-up for everybody involved, because they understood the value and the pressure and the weight of responsibility when they were young, especially when they were young. A lot of these cats jump on here, no matter who they are, claiming to be that. And they a lot of them don't know what it feels like to put empowerment and freedom and the ability to control your own destiny, so much so to the point of losing everything. That when they lay down on certain nights, they cried themselves to sleep, because that's how much they want improvement. And if they didn't cry, they were hurt on the inside, because that's how much they wanted improvement. They wanted improvement, and they wanted to control their own destiny. They wanted to take matters into their own hands. They wanted to improve. They wanted to get over the difficulties that they had to deal with as a little one. So much that it was worth, that it meant everything. That if they figured if they couldn't get through that, then it wouldn't be worth living. So the so-called alphas go through all of that, supposedly, to deal with an individual who chooses from their own free will, I may add, to not participate and behave, or I should say, behave to be in a functional relationship with you as a so-called alpha. And what do? You tell this person that you want to stay after all the hardships that you go through? No, you'll tell this person, if you really have options, and if you're really an alpha, you'll tell this person go, and you'll even help them pack. And you will continue the search of interacting with a significant other that you are getting to know, that you could potentially build an empire with. A lot of these cats are not alphas.